Phirosha's work in both the trade unions and his work with community organizations highlights the importance of the links between ideas, between things that happen in universities and things that happen in civil society. I think that relationship is really important for us at the center, and kind of in that regard, it's really important that we acknowledge his work.
Was an amazing trade unionist in the time that it mattered the most. He was able to provide courageous leadership, build alliances between community and trade unions. I think that's the most important feature of him as a trade unionist, that for him, trade unionism didn't end at the shop floor, but continued in the communities where the workers actually came from. He paid a price for his leadership in terms of repression and all of that. And I think that he stands for me as one of the most courageous, committed, and principled trade unionists of all times in South Africa.
I met Phiroshaw in 1993 when I came to South Africa to work with him on a training program on policy advocacy. Phiroshaw and I were partners in life and in work, and we did almost everything side by side for many years. He was a wonderful man. He was an intellectual. He was an activist. He was constantly being involved in different things. He was a Renaissance man of sorts in terms of the scope of his interests, both including his books, but also just life in general in terms of art and music and so on. He taught me a huge amount about South Africa and about life in South Africa and the struggle that he was very involved in. And we worked really well together for 13 years, and we lived together for 22 years until he sadly left me.
Early experiences that I had with the trade union movement in South Africa in the 1980s, I think really shaped my view on kind of his work. He was the General Secretary of NACTU, and I worked quite closely with the unions, and I think those kind of ideas really had a big influence on how South Africa's post-apartheid trajectory evolved.
A good activist is one who seeks to educate, and that's something that PC did. One who seeks to mobilize, that was something he did really well. And one who is willing to sacrifice and take risks and put your life on the line, and PC did all of that. But his most important thing was his ability to inspire others to join and get involved.
Phirosaw's life was always about service to others, people more needy than he was. And he was brave and fearless, especially when others around him needed to be, whether leading a trade union march, going to prison for his beliefs, or remaining calm during violence in Thokoza during the time of the Thokoza Peace Committee, or at the IEC Ops Center when the election count was hacked. He was steadfast in his principles and his dedication to equality and democracy and good governance.
Phiroshaw was quite involved in a number of the early activities of SCIS. So he attended all of our seminars, he attended many of the debates that we used to run, and he was quite involved in shaping the sort of ideas that we want to promote in kind of inside our center.
One of his most important contributions was, in fact, helping rebuild civil society. His contributions to the setting up of the South African NGO Coalition, various other efforts to unite civil society and so on, was critically important. But importantly, he also was a voice that was listened to periodically by the powers that be, and he continued to speak out on corruption, on bad policy choices, and so on.
Phiroshaw was a lover of books and libraries and inspired countless others to do the same. For him, these were the key to education, and teaching was a passion for him. It was his calling, both formal and informal, as a trainer and teacher and as a mentor. And he read constantly. He collected books like a crazy man. And he went to book fairs. We went together to book fairs, and he went to book openings and launches all the time. And over the years, he built a huge collection of somewhere between 10 and 15,000 books. And they covered a huge range of topics. And from these, I selected 8,000 books, which which constituted the donation to SCIS, and they are the ones that most closely relate to the research areas of the center. I hope that they will be of huge help too, both in terms of historical reference, but also many of the books are still very, very relevant today. So in terms of current research and contextualizing what the researchers and students who work at SCIS will be looking for in the library.
We're a research center and we have students. And I think it's kind of really important for us to both safeguard the books that he had collected, but also important for us to make that full collection of books available to our students and to our researchers. So in that regard, I think to kind of set up the library, to name it after him, and to house the books at the university is really, really important.
Phirishaw's life is to really internalize the notion that the struggle for justice is a marathon and not a sprint, and the biggest contribution that any one of us who have come to realize the injustices of the society that we live in is to ensure that we have the stamina, the perseverance, and the commitment to be able to run that marathon.
I think that what we can all learn from Phirishaw's life is that to really make change in the world, you have to be truly and wholly committed to doing that. And you have to find the places where you think you can most contribute the most, the issues that you care most about, the things that are most prevalent, or the problems that are most prevalent in your community, or in wherever you want to make a contribution.